The Constant Companions through Escher North, at eschernorthwordpress.com. The Manuscript of Survival, Part 416, May 16, 2014. As we have touched upon many a time before, mankind has a long history of looking outwards in search for answers. You see, as mankind got severed from the old links that connected them to themselves, they were left as if floating in a vacuum, and it felt as if a void had opened up within. In this void, mankind has tried in vain to insert all sorts of ambitions and intellectual games in order to try to fill in this gaping void within, but to no avail. For what has been brought into this gap between the real you and the you have been feeling, was only transient and insubstantial substitutes for something that was so fundamental for you all. Nothing could take its place, and so, mankind was left to search in vain for anything that could make them feel whole again, for within this gap, even if they could not name it nor set any words to try to describe it, they sensed that a fundamental part of them was missing. And so, a quest to become whole again was set into motion again and again, but each and every time, this quest sent you all searching in the wrong direction. For this quest would usually take the form of a search for something outside of yourself, something tangible, something that felt so tantalizingly close, but yet so far away. And in this quest for this elusive piece, that final answer that would make it all come together, much of mankind's false moves have been carried out. So instead of getting closer to the truth they sought, they instead started to move further and further out from the truth, both in a literal but also in a spiritual sense. For mankind has a long history of seemingly stumbling upon an answer, and they have given what they have found a name, and in some instances even a body and a face, and so, they have constructed a vast belief system around it. Hence, the emergence of compartmentalized belief systems, or religions if you will, all claiming to represent the truth, and all spending a lot of their time and energy in persecuting those adhering to another truth than themselves. And so, what was once a unified group became more and more splintered, and as you approached modern age, you became even more so. For at the advent of your modern age, mankind started to seek the answers to this gaping void within other locales than those where the spiritual messages were shared, and so, they looked in vain for a more material solution to this emptiness within, and so, what they found, was a way to fill that void temporarily by accruing objects of diverse kinds, objects that brought fulfillment for a short time, but then, turned into a prison. For once they started to try to fill that void within with this kind of immaterial materialism, the void seemed to grow larger and larger, and to counteract that, the need to accrue even more, started to grow into almost a frenzy. And as the heaps of material objects grew, so the wastelands of this beautiful planet also increased exponentially, and we do mean that both in a literal and figurative way. For this materialistic dogma was no more successful than the spiritual ones in filling up this void within, and so, the more you begat, the less room you had for love. For love, when it is truly present, will fill any nook and any cranny you could care to think of, and when love is present, there is no need for anything else. Not that this entails a life devoid of any personal effects at all, rather, that this hunger for something more will vanish as if it has never been there at all. We think it is safe to say that many of you can already attest to this, for as you open those doors within wide open to step into the light, you will also feel the sense of finally becoming complete, and then, the suction from that old void will no longer be a factor in your life, for then, there will be no more void within, and then, you will also see the truth in the words we have given you on so many occasions. For you already have everything you need. You are already in possession of the multitude of fragments that constitutes the fullness of your being, and when you see this, you also see that there is nothing external, whether that be a person or an idea or even an object that needs to be added to you in order to make you you. For again, what you have been seeking to become, you already are, and no matter how far and wide you travel, there is simply nothing more there that could be described as essential for you to find in order for you to become one again. In other words, you are already whole and complete, and you have no voids to fill, nor no missing parts to seek out, for it is already there, within you, but as we have told you again and again, you do have a hard time truly taking that in, and so, you will still feel the need to go on a long and arduous quest to rediscover yourself. But all you have to do, is to do the simplest exercise of them all. Just sit down, close your eyes and dare to open that door that beckons you to do so. For there are no locks there, no intricate questions to answer, nor no detailed descriptions to be followed in a perfectly timed sequence. There is simply this, a need to make the commitment to take that last little step that may seem to be more than a lifetime's achievement, but that can be accomplished in the split of a second. Again, we cannot give you a detailed map, nor a time and date for you to follow, for in this, it is indeed up to each and every one of you. Some have come close to take this simple, but oh so transforming step already, while others still feel uncertain or even unable to do so. But this is not above and beyond anyone's capabilities, for this is simply what you already are, and as such, you cannot go wrong, nor can you miss the mark, nor can you lose your way. For all you have to do, is to truly want to be with you, so you can be you in every single particle of your being. And remember, this is not something that needs to be achieved, this is simply something you need to allow, for it is already there, you are already there, within you, in every single particle, in every single breath and in every single heartbeat, but still you look about for the answer to the questions. Who am I really? Where can I find that missing part of me? Who is my alter ego? And where do I belong? Again, the answer is simply this, you already are all that you seek, you already know all that you want to know, and you already exist to the fullest of your capabilities, but as yet, few have dared to truly see this, and so, you will all need find the courage and the willingness to truly go beyond the borders you still set around your very core. Remember, they are not really there at all. They are simply a figment of your imagination, set up by that outer part of you still uncertain about the shimmering, bright light you can sense is there, behind those protective screens you have erected. For as we have told you before, you are all so very close to your own brilliant core by now, the power of the light emanating from it can make your eyes water, and your mind decide to back off a bit. It is understandable, for it is a long time since anyone inhabiting a human body also carried the full force of their light in full view, not only for themselves, but also for their surroundings, and so, you will still balk at the thought of taking the plunge and tearing away that last protective covering within. For you are trying to protect yourself from your own light, and it is as we have told you before, simply a cautionary measure triggered by that old and ingrained fight or flight mechanism that has been your constant companion for eons. But now, it is time to dare to unveil the real you, the full brightness of your light, and to step fully into it, and truly become you to your fullest, brightest and truly magnificent potential. And when you do, no thing and no one will be as before, for when you finally stop trying to extinguish your own light, the full force from your light will in turn lighten up everything around you. It may still sound too daunting a prospect to many of you, and rightly so, for you have all a long history of being hunted down for the very reason that your inner light became fully visible on the outside, and so, the need to cloak yourselves in anonymity, is still very much a gut reaction to so many of you. Again, that is understandable, but this time, it is finally time for the decloaking of all. And in this, you will once again be the pioneers, and so it will take an effort for so many of you to truly rip off the old mask and stand there in all of your splendor. But we know you will all do it, for as the first masks come off, it will send out ripples of energy of such a magnitude, it will help to rip asunder those heavy cloaks of light-restricting fabric that still exist, near or far. So again we say, this small step is perhaps the hardest one for all, not to complete, but to contemplate, but we know you will all take the plunge, for that is why you came. But we also know that it will take some time and some prodding before this process will be set fully into motion. But have no fear, we are not talking sometime in the distant future, we are talking about your present, for as you get exposed to more and more of these energetic particles being injected into your atmosphere and into your very being, you will be assisted in closing this gap between potential and manifestation, and so, inch by inch, breath by breath you will all get there, and all it takes is for someone to be the very first to bridge this gap between thinking and being, and then, the veils will fall and the borders of self-imposed separation will be no more. So again we say, sit down, close your eyes and feel your way back into you. The light is powerful but the light is simply you. So you will not be turned away, nor will you encounter anything that can be detrimental to you if you dare to approach it again after such a long separation. Remember, this light is not something new and unknown, this is the source you once came from, that core you have felt missing, lifetime after lifetime, but now, that core is no longer off limits to any of you, but those outer inhibitors that were placed upon you in order to make it unable for you to find that core, and that led you into a labyrinthine search for a substitute, leading you all further and further away from the center of your being. Those inhibitors are no longer there, and you are more than welcome back home to you, whenever you feel you are ready to welcome yourself home.